Yeah,
The
outside the
growing
window.
word's gonna like rip out.
Jay,
Okay, you're on.
you're
now-
live.
You're not live, it's got a 1 minute lag.
No, we're not live.
Oh, maybe not now.
Right, this is gonna be on public record.
Yeah.
His girlfriend forgot to pull this up on top.
Okay, sorry for that. Moving on to Christian.
All right, so on Saturday, I had a successful garden cleanup. We actually started planting various produce like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, peas, tomatoes, and some poppies. So that was a lot of fun. And for in terms of the movie night, I'm almost done with the preparations for that. I ordered the pizza and the pasta. I just need to go to La Monarca and get the hot chocolate because for whatever reason, their phone number isn't working. So I'm in person for that. And I'm starting to create a student survey on a potential biking pathway through Greenway. And I want to get a general consensus from the students to see what they think about that. And I'm going to start creating a timeline for the spring health fair. So hopefully, that'll go by smoothly the next few weeks. And I also plan on meeting with Dr. Oventhal within the next 2 weeks to discuss future plans of sustainability facilities. And in terms of my committee work, we finished doing research on gardening. So we're going to be starting to build a compost pit for the garden. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Moving on to Natalia.
So I had a meeting with Billy, David, and Pathway Center where we talked about the Welcome Center situation that we've been talking about. I have been brainstorming for future goals for Supreme Council. The committee will take longer to be established, and I know for a lot of the things that we want to accomplish requires the Supreme Council since it's in the bylaws. So if you also have any, I know Brian and I were once talking about like certain things that come up to me, so I can start figuring out. So I will email professors in regard to informing students about the application extensions. I was waiting for someone who's in charge of emailing professors to respond, but I never got a response back, so I'll take care of it myself. And then I'll have interviews this week. The first interview is today, so it's very exciting to start interviewing people.
Thank you, Nat. Moving on to David.
All right, so yeah, like Nat said, we met with the director of the Pathway Center on Thursday. We had a lively discussion about the usage of the Wi-Fi center. And then also that Thursday, I attended the Board of Trustees special meeting where we essentially expressed our intent to go for a bond that would pay for a lot of the buildings and constructions that we want to do in the next 5 years. So the Seraphim building being one of them. There's talks about expanding parking. I think my biggest point of contention with the board was the fact that they didn't want to push for extended parking structures on our Del Mar side. And that's because of our neighbors that I guess they hold a lot of influence in decision-making on the campus. And so we're not able to really do a lot of construction on that side just because of noise and other things that impact their, I guess their neighborhood. But I'm still trying to push for it because if we don't expand on that side, then we're expanding inward into our campus. And one of our trustees, Linda Walsh, said, and it stuck to me that she said that over a quarter of our land usage here on campus is all parking. We really need to be focusing on where we can expand for our support systems. Like we can't be using too much parking spaces. So, and we're also losing parking spaces that are down the street from Caltech because they're going to be buying us out of our lease. So parking is going to be a big issue for us in the next few years as enrollment goes back up. So that was one thing. I also am going to meet with Dean Starbird with Eugene as well. We're going to be talking to her about plans that she has for the HSI grant that we just accepted. That's going to increase student success rates for Hispanic and other underserved students in STEM. So we're trying to get a head start before she even plans anything. So hopefully we can get an input on that and on the meeting after this. So that's all.
Thank you, David. Moving on to my report. I participated in the fall planning retreat student panel with Jillian and Marcus. We pushed for the Welcome Center to come back to our space. We also brought awareness to academic counseling accessibility issues, pushed for a focus more on student experience at PCC instead of just preparing them to transfer. And that I had issues accessing parts of board docs in order to create an agenda. So I emailed Jennifer Alvarez, who told me that she reset the password and hopefully it'll all work. I haven't gotten a chance to try it out. But yeah. And then the ICC funding committee met today at 11 a.m. We will be voting on the approval of that later, and I'm not sharing the ICC meeting this Friday, so I will be on a plane, and that is the end of my reports. We'll move on to advisory reports now. Carrie.
Okay, I'm typing them as I go. Okay, couple things. We have a new health coordinator. If you remember, some of you may remember, we had someone named Veer. She left us early in the year. They've managed to hire someone. Her name is April Forrest. I sent you all, well, at least I sent it to Jay because that's their contact. So the health educator, she has experience in cancer. That's her main experience of outreach is within cancer awareness, but she also has background in sexual assault and sexual harassment. So you can reach out to her now as a campus partner. Yes, board docs. Board docs was kind of tricky. Apparently what happened is because we didn't change the password, I thought we could keep that, but because it's a temporary password, it expired, which is why none of you could get in. Please check your emails because yesterday I emailed you the new password. The temporary password is ASPCC. I emailed it to you all. I emailed you the temporary password, but it doesn't matter because in that email, I prefer all to have the same password. This is just your agendas. You all may need to jump in and help each other out. I may need to go in and help you all out. So if you don't like the new password, blame it on Jonathan because he picked it. So yeah, you all got that email. Please find that email. You log in with the temporary password to Board Docs and then change it to the new password that we have. That way we all have access to this because trying to go through one pass and setting it up, it would actually cost us a little bit more because I have to add 2 new people to the one pass account and I don't want to have to do that just for this. So there is that. So please take a look at that. Also, we have an event coming up. Emmanuel spoke about it. It's coming up next week. It's called Stomp the Yard, which is traditionally something that happens when we, it's historically black colleges, right? That's kind of this informational fair. And so we're trying to encourage all sorts of folks and communities to be out there so that students can understand what's on campus. So it would be very good if AS had a table out there, and it shouldn't just be Jillian, because I know Jillian's excited. Someone else needs to help Jillian do that, all right? Because it's about sharing about what you do. So this is where we talk about doing publicity. That please, whatever publicity you have, if it's an Instagram post, pull it off, print it, so we've got something so people can actually see it. And it'd be really good if you had a big thing with a QR code saying, you know, so that they can sign up directly to our IG account or whatever, however you all want to do it. But let's do outreach. And I'm really serious about this because let's look around the room. And I always ask you this, who's not at your table, at this table right now? Right? And those are the people we need to be outreaching to. So really, I'm not going to be here next week. Emmanuel sent that out. I'll send it out. Deepak has sent out a reminder. Really would like you to be there and really would like you to think about how are you expanding who you serve. You talk a good talk about HSI, but they're not the only game in town. The challenge to you, how are you bringing in new people? Because traditionally there are people who've been left off of this table. Who's not? So that's coming up. Here, board docs. I know I'm forgetting something other than we're coming up towards the end of programming because really we're running out of time. So I'm not here next week, and then the following week is a short week, so I'm not here either. I have arranged to have different people advise you. If you have an upcoming event and you have not received an email from me saying this is who's going to advise you, please email me, text me, let me know. And that way I can arrange. I think I got everybody covered, but I may not have let you know who's advising you. And then last but not least, actually two things, wow. Apps are due. Apps are due. And I know you all like to hang out in the office, and I see a lot of you going to each other's meetings, but I'm gonna say, you need to be spending time on that. Serious time on that, because the goal is to get it done beforehand. And this happens every single year, even though they plan for it. The site is gonna crash on November 30th. Do not wait, and do not pull what a famous AS member did. He said, my application's not good enough. Let me do it, let me do it, let me do it. Oh, I'll have plenty of time. It's 11:57. And then the site crashed. And she did not get into a UC. Right? And I don't think you all have the luxury of your backup school being you. Some of you do, some of you do, you might all, I don't know, because I don't get your GPAs. But let's not like leave it to that. So there's that. So if I see you hanging out in the office, I'm gonna be asking you, where are you with your application? And speaking of hanging out in the office, this is a work space. So you should be conducting work. Imagine if someone who doesn't know who AS is or what you do, what you stand for, walks in and sees you hanging out, doing what you normally do. Here's the conversations that you have. Right? So please be aware. We'll probably end up talking about professionalism later at our retreat. Okay, last thing is, as sad as it is, and I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, as sad as it is, we know that Philly is leaving us in December.
January.
Well, I'm going to ask that it's December because,
Oh, okay.
because I'm going to say this. You all are going to try and get to do a mid-year retreat. It would be very nice to have your new member go with you on the mid-year retreat. But so far, I've seen no one move to do anything about putting an application out. I don't know who wants to be in charge of that. I have asked 2 different people and I have not seen any movement. My request is you get it done soon because you've got UCFs, you've got holidays, you've got finals. How are you going to fit this person? You don't have 2 months. And if you want to take this person on your mid-year retreat, you need to get this done before you all leave in December. And we do not hold meetings during winter break when the college is closed. So you all need to make some serious plans, or then you're just picking up, I'm not going to onboard that new person. I'm going to throw it all to you because you all have the opportunity to onboard this person in a timely manner. Okay, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Carrie. We'll move on to Dean Cobb.
Just want to echo the transfer season. They're having a pop-up event right now. I think you all probably missed the post. I'm seeing it dwindle, but they're having a pop-up event right now for transfer. You know, I know it's convenient for you all to depend on each other and other folks who transfer before you, but I also say go to the experts before you submit. Like, and the only way you do that is what Carrie said, if you do it ahead of time, or if you get stuck and think, you know, this is not going to get me in anywhere. Go to the transfer center. They have later hours. They are the experts. They work with folks regularly. They know what they're looking for. Utilize that research. We have an excellent, beyond excellent transfer center. They are why we're #1, hands down. Go to the experts. Don't sit and do it by yourself, especially if you get flustered or you get to that point of self-doubt or second guessing. Ask somebody. So I know they have in-person and online support. So that part. I appreciate your efforts. The Welcome Center. One of the things, and I'm hearing this, oh, we went to FYE. So FYE is this much of the student population. This much, right? So I know it's easy to to go to FYE and talk to FYE about what FYE wants. FYE wants what FYE wants for their program and their 2,400 students. You have 18,000 other students who are not first-year students and who are not FYE, who don't match FYE. How are you including them in your decision-making? I think you all have the right perspective. I'm not questioning that at all. I think what you want to do is definitely, because it's in the best interest of students, go beyond what's easy and comfortable and who you have immediate connection to. We all do that. I do that. That's one of my big things this year, is to make an effort go beyond the people I see regularly around tables. And to think about, like Carrie said, who's not at the table and who I don't usually connect with. So the Stomp the Yard is specifically targeting Black and African American students event. Stomp the Yard is, I don't know if you saw that, I don't know if it was a 2000 movie or a 90s movie, I don't know. So Stomp the Yard is what happens at historically Black colleges during the noon hour. It's where you showcase who you are. You have information there sometimes where flats and sororities come. They perform. It's where there are political discussions that happen out in the public. So it's like our college hour, but it's regular. There's always stuff going on. There's usually music, etc. So it's the community building experience. So that's what they're going to have. Please be out there. I know one of the goals specifically is to have programs out there so Black students know where the programs are that support Black students. And the name Black and African American don't need to be in the title. And that was one of the big things. At first, I was like, well, student life, we're not a Black program, but we need to be. We are a Black program. We should be a program for all students, but including Black students. So they see that they belong in student life. So that's why it's important for us to be out there, and it's important for you to be out there. Because they ask for programs so that students, Black students, know they belong in spaces. And that those spaces don't have to have the title Black in front of them. Okay, so it is important for you to be out there too. You can be with us, that's cool. You don't, Saria and I think Jordan are gonna be out there for our office. But be visible. Okay, so that's important. One of the things, I know you're off on the 24th, right? No meeting? On November 24th?
That Wednesday?
That Wednesday before Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Off. Okay, so I'm working with personal counseling to do a specific QPR training. How many of you have attended any of those QPR trainings for students? So the mental health training? None of you?
I've been too busy with fall downs.
Whatever.
I actually finished
So one of the next steps they want to start doing in spring is doing trainings for specific student cohorts, as well as staff and department cohorts. Of course, they would like to do one with you all as a targeted training as a pilot for the rollout in spring. So we're trying to find a date because it takes an hour and a half. And it's also been so you could possibly help do some of the other trainings that come with students, but to also to do a pilot with you. So we were looking at the 24th, even though I know you're off, to see what if you would be willing, because you can do it. We can do it collectively in this space. It's on Zoom. You can do it collectively in this space or do it online. We're still working with the people to see when their availability. If that doesn't work, then we're looking at like the next Friday, before the 3rd, to do a training on that Friday. So if you could let me know if we do it on that Friday. I know you all have meetings, but can you do a 9 to 10:30 or a 9 to 11? not be able to come if we did that. On the 3rd. You're working?
I might be working. I would just have to look like. what
Okay,
days the teacher
so
is.
we're looking, so maybe I'll send a doodle for you all for that Friday. In that Wednesday, I don't know if the people are gonna be able to do it on the 24th, but I would really appreciate it if you would all participate in it. I think it would be really positive to say associated students are TPR trained moving forward. I know they want to use that as a selling point. I think it will be helpful for you as well as leaders who are now leading other people to have that as part of your toolkit, your leadership toolkit and skill set. Okay, so that's one of the reasons I'm doing that. Office decorum, so I have gotten some complaints. And this is my other hat, my student conduct hat, that this is a work environment. I have heard complaints that are possibly could be sexual harassment, which includes creating a hostile work environment for other folks who work in a space by the conversations that you're having that are in a work environment. So you are in a work environment, meaning all sexual harassment policies and all student conduct applies to you. The people have said they don't want to file a formal report, so I'm now putting you on notice that I don't really need for them to file a formal complaint. But should somebody else come up to me and say that the language you're using, that the conversations you're having are creating a hostile work environment, I will begin an investigation. And then I will also turn it over to HR to investigate. I take this very seriously. And you know, I always tell you, please don't make me put this other hat on. Because it's not the relationship I want with this group. But I will. And don't test me on it. So what I'm asking is be mindful of what you're talking about in that space. Be mindful that it is a work environment. You're held to work standards. Okay. I don't want it to get to, we've had it happen before. I don't want to get to the point where the staff in the office now is complaining about your language and the conversations you're having that are inappropriate for work. Because then they can file against you. So this is when leadership kicks in. This is when maturity kicks in. And as much as you think you can say whatever you want, whenever you want to, in any environment, that's not the case. You have shown yourselves to be professionals. You've shown yourselves to be able to step up and step in and pivot. Please do it in this moment. Please be conscious. Please help each other through this. I also understand you're in a learning situation. Help each other with this. Okay? And I know sometimes it gets to a point where people are like, oh, no, you're sexually harassing me and make a joke about it. You don't want to be on the other end of an investigation. Okay? Take it seriously, because if somebody you cared about was experiencing this in a workplace, you would be telling them to do something about it. And I know that of people. Be mindful of your role and that everything you do is amplified, everything you do is public. Okay? Teach that, keep it as a learning experience. If you have questions about what I'm talking about, I don't really know, come see me. I'm not gonna like ding you, like, oh, for asking a question. It's learning. And we can talk about that at community retreat, so you have an understanding of your parameters. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Paul. Moving on to, I'm sorry, I skipped financial report. Do you have a financial report?
I have no financial.
Okay, thank you, Brianna. Moving on to shared governance discussion. Do we have any shared governance discussion?
I don't think I've received any notifications about the two things I'm on. I'm on college council and I'm also on distance learning. I haven't received any information, but I heard that they have both been meeting.
Did you, I emailed you the distance, I forwarded you the email from Thea Alvarado around distance education,
Let me check my
and you're on college council.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I can send you on. Yeah, I didn't know you were on that, so we can send it. Is anyone else here on college council?
Leave Emmanuel is right.
Manual.
Yeah.
I thought there was one other person. Maybe that was.
Oh yeah, I got your email, but I haven't received anything further from them.
Okay, so put that on your calendar and then contact her. I've asked her to put you on the mailing list. They may not have sent anything because
The next meeting is the 18th from
It
10:30.
says oh no, this is for the
yeah, college council is different. Let me get up. I think Jennifer sent that out. So.
And we did have a third person. For a second, we were gonna appoint Ava Ortega, but we withdrew that because she's a career editor-in-chief. So
Oh, that's what.
we need to find someone else, though, because we do get 3 members on that.
I was just gonna say, I think.
So that's
you
where
have all your members.
you need to look back to your committees. Although college council, I prefer that it's kind of, I think, more appropriate for one of you all.
there's
They also
someone bold on it.
It says they list Marcus as a member.
I already told you more earlier in the semester.
Yeah, I remember
made it
that.
clear to
Okay.
me.
Yeah. I would say it's okay to have a committee member if Jonathan and Emmanuel are on there. I think it's a good learning opportunity to really learn about college governance.
That's definitely the experience for someone that might want to run. So, yes.
I haven't gotten any emails from Brack. I know the first meeting Brianna forwarded me, and then I emailed whoever the secretary is to add me, and they never responded and they never added me.
That's right, man.
Yeah, we haven't had any.
Okay,
So
so
you're
you're,
gonna say that's where I heard it.
so you're
You reported
getting,
on that.
you're getting stuff, right?
Yeah.
So can you just forward it on to, and who's the admin assistant that's sitting next?
Really?
Lizette.
Yeah.
Lizette, so if you can email Lizette, and say, please add Natalie Bismarck to that email. Okay. She's the email.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Are all of you able to access, have you all been going to your meetings and then being able to access everything?
Yeah, we have. Yeah. Because we're going through this RFP right now. So after, so once the RFP kind of resolved, probably in spring, we'll be meeting monthly after.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Yes, Brianna.
Would we be allowed to talk about what went on in the PRT group here in the shared governance?
I don't know. Do you think so?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a shared government thing, but if it's something that you all need to discuss. this is what this is.
Okay, well, Eugen and Marcus and I were there, and a lot of students had a lot of concerns. So I kind of wanted to share it with you. Basically, a lot of students feel like there's late communication from the professors to the students, and that the professors may not be considering students' mental health as well. Yeah, I know that they have stuff to add about it too.
Yes, Marcus.
Some of the students that I talked with felt like they couldn't trust their teachers. They feel like the faculty, and like, just letting you know that these students also serve on college-wide committees. So they are in a similar position as us, but they feel like it's very obvious that the staff is only looking out for themselves. They don't really care about students.
Also, I think they want to be more involved in like campus-wide activities, but they have like no method of like communication to like find out events like this. I think you have to like push for more publicity so they can be more involved. And like I mentioned, like the Instagram that my ASPCC
this year and like let them know about it. And so we were able to join it at the meeting.
Remember like two of the students or from Makiko, they were bringing up how I can't remember, they said like Dr. Andrew Jones's name specifically, they were talking about admin specifically, and they were talking about how there's censorship of some sort, about how they couldn't get their stuff put out on the website or are putting up flyers, and how they felt like student voice was being suppressed and whatnot. So that's a concern to me, considering everything that's happened this semester. Just like, I don't know. Something seems off to me.
Yes, Dean Cox.
Involved with the whole yard meeting, but, when you're talking about students feel like they can't trust faculty, what's the context of that?
The context of
I mean, in relation to what they're learning, in relation to what?
not in relation to what they're learning, but more directly about raising student concerns and student advocacy, because they said that it feels like whenever they're in these college-wide committees, like they'll bring up concerns and staff immediately blow it off, and they shift the conversation to something else that concerns them instead.
That concerns
Staff.
faculty.
Staff, yeah.
Yeah, for publicity, especially with clubs, I get a lot of feedback that they want physical postings around campus. I know that that's not the most sustainable thing, so maybe after like a month or so, we could take those back and then try to recycle them. But yeah, a lot of students, they don't follow the Instagram, they don't follow Discord, which is dormant right now anyways. So I think it would be great if we could post some things around campus of what's going on.
Yeah, also, would anybody else be interested in being trained for the calendar? So what it would mean is that you can put events on the calendar itself on the website. So if you're interested, I'll get you in on the training. It'll be next Monday. I'll let you know the details.
I'd be interested.
All right, you too, and Marcus.
Oh, no, I have one more thing. Before I forget. Sorry.
Do you want to be trained too?
I do want to be trained too. I think that'd be interesting, so I know what's going on. But I guess the other question I have is, a lot of, I think the challenge is about information. And your job may be, part of it is just manage that information. I think it is also about advocating for students. And I don't doubt that when they're in these meetings that they get shut down. But I also know that sometimes what happens is people say like, well, we put flyers up, they get taken down. And I think what happens is people don't know that if they don't have a stamp from our office, they can't be posted. So we do that to protect people from predatory people who come onto campus, and they do that. So, sometimes it's about how do we manage that information, and sometimes it's just that little bridge then that makes it happen, right? Because folks, can you imagine we picked you all up and we dropped you as AS into East Los Angeles College, and you tried to operate the way you operate here in that system, right? You don't know how the system works, so you're frustrated. You feel like you're being lied to. You feel like you're being disenchanted. So I think we take these pieces very seriously, but you know how to make these things work, because we know that we can make, we can make things happen. But I think you're right. If you can identify that people are purposely or not inadvertently putting up barriers, that's where you use your voice to advocate for change, right? So think about that and always ask that question, and always say, okay, let's look at this. How can I help you walk through this? Because this is the way our system is. And then when you explain the system and they tell you, well, that's crazy. And you're right, that is crazy. Why do we have to have a stamp, right? Then we can discuss that. And that's how we kind of work these things through, and that's how change happens to a system. So that's what I'd encourage you to do. And the other thing is I guess the thing is, because we pay a lot of money to have Lancer Life, and we're slowly getting more and more clubs to use that. We've got 5 clubs who post regularly on that. And I guess the question is, like, if we could then ramp up our own usage of Lancer Life, because it is another way. It's not, you don't have to download an app, you just need to hit a link, right? To get more people to see stuff. And it really is, it's like Facebook for clubs. I know some clubs just like to use Facebook on their own, but it's just a way that you can advertised to a larger population. So, but I do agree, we need to have publicity on a larger scale.
Yes, Marcus.
Well, the last thing that was another big topic, it's not something we can necessarily address. But a lot of students echo that the PCC experience basically only focuses on first years. And after that, you're basically given no resources, no help. And there's no focus on students who are simply just trying to earn an AA or a certificate or whatnot. So a lot of the students, I remember two of them especially, they were talking about, there was one, I remember her. She kept talking about the fact that it wasn't fair for students that after your first year, you're essentially ignored. And if you didn't transfer in time, those like resources coming from pathways and FYE kind of cease to exist. So I think that's a big concern that I think we should take seriously as a group. And when it comes to our student advocacy efforts in these college-wide committees, that we start pointing it out that there should be an expansion of resources for second year, third year students, or even students who, and just for the rest of our students, because we are the minority. The people who do want to transfer from this institution are in the minority group compared to those who are just trying to earn some skills, a certificate or whatnot.
I think something about Lancer Life I want to mention is that I don't know if this is a common issue, but I've been having like an outdated security thing every time I log in. That I think has deterred people from using it. They're like, I don't feel safe logging in with this if it's outdated security. So if there's any way that we could update that.
That's the first time I heard it. Do me a favor. Log it in, screenshot it and send that to me and I send it to the company.
Will do. Okay. And then also I've been getting a lot of complaints about the club cart. Stopping people. in the quad.
Yeah.
Yeah. stop.
So they've approached me, I've been counting it. I started counting it after Welcome Week. They've approached me a total of 7 times. Each time I've asked them to never approach me again.
So these are the things that I need to know about because I can very easily fix them, but if I don't know about them, I don't fix them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please send me that information
I'll just send you.
and I will hit up their advisors.
Sounds good. Any other chair governance discussion? Yes, Nicole.
I would just say, what did you think of the PRC experience?
Marcus?
I think it was very limited in its scope because like 5 out of like the 7 students there were sitting directly on like college-wide committees or had some knowledge of how the system works. And I feel like the students who didn't necessarily know how the system worked, from what I remember, they didn't speak whatsoever. And we were in breakout rooms too, and they wouldn't speak there that. So I would have liked it if there was more inclusion from like other students that don't necessarily know how everything works, just to hear their experiences in the classroom when it comes to working with teachers.
Yeah, so they went to the leadership groups and
Yeah.
asked for appointments to participate in the PRT, which means that's you.
So we asked you several times
So
to find other people.
yeah.
And none of you, I sent the email out to you. So I don't know what else to do because they come to me all the time asking for student perspective. That's why I keep telling you, you've got some good people on your committees. Pull from your committees. It doesn't always have to be you. I don't know what else to do for you all.
Yeah,
When I
and
send
I
it out.
think that's, so I'm asking what your experience was, because I think it's that, I know I participated in it too. And I know anytime I hear open feedback with no filters is always a good thing, because then that's the real thing, right? That's not the shared governance confined discussion. And we included people from management who do not usually participate in a lot of things intentionally. And it was really, it was very eye-opening for those of us who are really involved. But I hope that, you know, and I hear some of that in what you're sharing, is that it was kind of eye-opening for you as well, to hear what students who aren't as involved are experiencing. And you know, to Carrie's point, I would say, keep going with that. the PRT is something on collegiality and communication, so it's structurally narrow. But I would say have this opportunity available for students through AS. Because now you're hearing things. And I know you experience them too, but I think to some, it's really a different experience when you're somewhat empowered to have agency, to have your own self-agency, if something goes sideways, right? But I would hope that you are also learning that how you can empower other students through what you experienced or heard in the PRT. And maybe it's a series of these, where you're just really just listening sessions. I mean, you have to have questions. I think it helps. Because, otherwise you just get silence. But, I think some of the things you're sharing are not new, but I'm glad you heard them and I'm glad they were expressed.
Can I ask you, how long was that session?
Probably not.
Eugene?
Yes, I think it was like great that it was like more informal because I think people were more willing to speak up about issues like these. So like going back to like the Wi-Fi lounge, I feel like it felt like something we talk about in a space like that. And so I think it's would be really important for us to like have some kind of like community setting for students so we can like publicize and also, like brings it together to talk about issues for us to understand.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, that's definitely what we can utilize that some of that. Yes, Karen.
I remembered one thing when we started talking about the Wi-Fi. Just a point of clarification on that. So no one org on this campus owns the space. It is really either the will serving at the will of the president. President of the college figures out that they need to reconfigure space. That's what it is. So I've heard a lot of you saying that as AS space. What it really is, it's student space. So remember, you serve students. So you don't want it because they can very easily say, well, AS, and they can minimize you. What they can't minimize is they can't minimize students. And they can't minimize the fact that there is no other space for students. So just kind of keep you all on point. You don't own it. OSL doesn't own it.
We only own it when things aren't going
When
well.
things go
When they
wrong,
want us to manage students, that's when we own it.
Or-
Then it's our space.
or when they want us to find students to give them opinions, then it's us, right? But it is student space, so just kind of keep you all on point. That's just the message, that it is about students, not about giving AS more space, giving OSL more space. Like the students need that space.
I think we need to make more students aware that like the possibility of like us getting more space exists, because a lot of them have like came to PCC without being on campus at all. So they don't realize, oh, like this could be like something for us. Like, oh, like we probably go to this like mythical place where like all this stuff exists and stuff, but that's not really in their heads right now, because they're like, all they see is like, oh, the Welcome Center where everything is like at, and like the piazza where people just go to study. Like people don't think of it as like a space that could actually be like redone. And so I
We're
think,
encouraging people to go to piazza to socialize.
yeah, so I just think we need to do more outreach and get people like brought up. Like I think we do a lot of intake, but I think we also need to do some influencing.
Well, that just gave me an idea. Maybe we make an initiative around this, make a one pager. Alex actually suggested for me to make a one pager, or no, was it Brock Klein? I think. Yes. To make a one pager, to share with other constituent groups, to share with Dr. Jonas about what a Welcome Center or a Wi-Fi lounge would mean for us as students. Like you said, a lot of students right now it's not even an idea in their mind. So if we get students around that idea, and we get students that are excited, and we tell Dr. Jonas, she'll see that there's support around that. I think that would be great.
I think you're gonna see the need. I think January,
It's gonna stay.
I think if we get 70% back, students are gonna come looking for that space, that social space, that indoor social space. That doesn't.
And you can sell it as a way to make us a college of choice. Like, why would I come here if I can't have fun? Why would I come here if I have no resources for me to use? I can go, there's people can go to Glendale,
Yeah.
Elam, Mount Sac, what else? How many within the 10, 20 mile?
Yeah, as much as I love it here, I keep seeing posts of my friends at GCC and how much fun they're having.
They
And
have a rec center, they have
yeah,
a.
and so I'm just kind of like, huh, I wonder how many of our students are seeing posts like that.
Oh, a lot of people.
Yeah,
Really?
probably all of us. have
I
friends
kind
that
of wanted to
are
join their
businesses.
AS. along
Ah,
with the saying.
Any other discussion or comments? Okay, we will move on to action items. There are none, so now we'll move on to discussion items. Our first discussion item is about the ASPCC winter retreat. I'll pass this on to Brianna.
Hi, everyone. So I've been coordinating with Carrie and we've been trying to plan our winter retreat. So I kind of wanted all of your input on it. Our two options are most likely like a Big Bear cabin in early January, but still it's like while school is in session, which was, I believe, January 7, 8, and 9, and that weekend. And then our second option is going up one night or one day early to Sacramento and having that extra night up there, which would be the weekend of the 29th and 30th. So, yeah, just anyone has anything to say?
Yes, Marcus.
I'm a big advocate for the Big Bear trip rather than the Sacramento one day. I feel like if we really want to bring in a new person, but hopefully we do bring in a new person to film for Philly, then I think having 3 days would be a better bonding experience also for Natalia and Nugent since they join midway into the semester rather than like a one day.
And David.
Oh yeah, and David, yeah. David.
Yes, Jonathan.
As someone who is very level-headed, unbiased, I think Big Bear would be an absolutely great idea.
Okay, well, I did find a cabin that has 14 beds.
So
So we would,
Is this a hotel or a cabin?
no, but it's like bunk beds or like 3, 4 in each room.
Oh.
Wow, I thought we were gonna stay in a hotel or something.
No,
I
think
mean,
a
if it
cabin-
saves money too.
Cabin in the woods.
A cabin would definitely be cheaper because we would need around 7 rooms because we're an odd number of girls and an odd number of boys or women and men.
Yeah.
That's always
I need to know, is this a waterfront or?
Well, the one I found is,
I'm a fish guy.
but there, it is, but there, I have other alternatives frozen. And it'll probably be frozen.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta remember it's January.
Ice fish.
Although that doesn't say much in California.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
you get water is on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It fluctuates.
So just as a clarification, if both of these retreats are solely going to be about personal development, growth, and your communication. We cannot do any sort of planning. We cannot even Zoom a meeting because we cannot have meetings outside our district. So this is the other thing. Even if we go for the Big Bear option, you do have to keep a budget. Your budget's around 5,500. And I still would like us all to go up to Sacramento, but that would be, we fly up Saturday and we come back on Sunday. Because I think it is important you go to the CCLC piece because it will bewilder you, inform you, and just get you better informed. Okay, so that's something that you all should still be planning on.
Yes, Marcus.
This is a question for Barry. What time will we fly on Saturday?
So we haven't quite made those plans yet because they haven't released the hotel information. So as soon as they do that. But thank you also for asking that because any of these trips, because they are overnight and because they will probably cost more than $3,000, we have to board report them. So really we're under a gun to try, if we want to do the January 8th, I have to get it in for the December board meeting. So that means we need to make a decision in the next week or so to get that going. And you know, there's going to be some other opportunities to travel Because Jonathan can very generously donate some of his budget.
Yeah. So in well, I'll just talk about this in future events.
Also, I want to remind you guys that only 8 people have reached out to me saying that they can make it these weekends. So please, if you can, ASAP, let me know if you can make those weekends.
Because the rule is this. Y'all go or no one goes, because I'm not putting this much work into it and have someone suddenly come and say, my cousin's in from out of town, so I'm not going. You don't go, then no one goes, because I'm not gonna do this, to do all this training and then have to pick up the training for the person who missed it. The point is that you all do this together. So I'm leaving it in your court to decide.
I also looked into the independence meeting space and they're available all of January as of right now, so that's also an option.
So the third option is if you want to, you can still stay on site. It would be in district, so you could do planning, you could do all sorts of stuff, and Eaton Canyon is very nice. You could do a lot of fun stuff out there, and you would definitely be under $1,000. Eaton Canyon, where is Eaton Canyon?
It's on Altadena Drive.
It's that way.
Yeah, Altadena and New York Drive.
That way and then up.
I just think that snow is really important for our training.
I also think that, sorry. I also think that sleepaway is very important for bonding experiences. So yeah. Any other opinions?
So the other piece I also throw this out for you to understand is you just did PRT with disgruntled students who felt like they weren't heard, they weren't seen. So I always throw this out to you. I want you to be aware of how would it look if you're willing to stand up in front of anyone and justify and explain why you're spending $5,000 on you, when I've already heard it from other students who say, gee, that AS just spends money on themselves. So I want you to take this seriously in the manner that it is, and I think we need to have I think you need to talk about that and think about that, because that's always the case. I want you to be aware of any choice, any decision you make, and you stand in front of a student, any Joe student, and say, this is why we did it, and this is why.
Yes, Marcus?
Would Eaton Canyon be the same duration of time?
You all can decide. You can rent Eaton Canyon for more than one day. It's not a sleepover.
Yeah, we have to go there every day.
Yeah, go there.
Jonathan?
Well, we would have, no, I was just gonna say in response that I think it is worth it. And I think like personally, I would be able to like speak in front of a group and be like, yeah, I think this money is being well spent. Because it's like, this has actually allowed for us to have greater, like I see us collaborating a lot. And I think our last retreat did pay off. I don't know what else anyone else thinks, but I could definitely see it. So I just wanted to say that.
David?
Just wanted to add that our trustees spend a ridiculous amount of money on their own training. And that out there, not saying that we have to spend a ridiculous amount of money, but
You just threw shade on that. But we can still do what they did.
and I mean, I'm saying this because I also received that sort of ridiculous amount of money, and I don't think that I needed a $2,000 hotel room to attend a conference. I just didn't. So, but I think that it's really important that we make sure that we get an experience that will be worthwhile, whether we spend, like, we're gonna spend money either way. So let's just make sure that we get a quality bonding experience and training.
Any other discussion, questions, or concerns? Marcus?
Please get to Brianna as soon as possible.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Anything else? Okay, we will move on to discussion item B, discussion about SSCCC vision, mission, and value statement revisions. I know that there is a lot of word going around about calling for a vote of no confidence in the organization. But I think regardless of if we want them to represent us or not, they're going to, and it's important to provide feedback on their statement. Give me 1 second. I was actually the chair of this ad hoc committee where we revised the statements. So basically, in the blue is the current statements, and then in red is the new and proposed ones. We would enjoy any feedback you have on these. If there's something you want to change, yes,
Can
Carrie.
you email that, because I only have the one that came from Dave.
Yeah, I read the one that came from David. I just want to say I absolutely loved it. Thought it was very well said.
And how does that one differ from the one we have?
So they are completely different items.
Ah,
David's is a resolution for a vote of no confidence. This is this is how it is. So we have vision, mission, and value statements in an organization. This is SSCCC's, and they want feedback from students because we are a student serving organization. It's very important because they're going to represent us in all of their efforts and legislation. And everything, and Region 7, which is our region, is a very big region. So it's up to us to really dictate how they serve us, in what way they serve us, and things like that. Carrie, I'll share this with you, but I can't do it from this account.
okay.
So I'll just read the new ones. So the proposed new mission statement is the mission of the Student Senate for California Community Colleges is to enrich the collegiate experience for all California community college students by pursuing policies that will improve student access and success while engaging and empowering local student leaders, as well as honoring equity and diversity. The only content change we made was we added equity and diversity, and we basically just changed all the wording so that it would flow better. Is there any feedback on this one? Keep in mind that anything you say, like you could change it to anything. You could be like, no, I think your mission should be like giving students an independent opportunity to pursue and direct legislation on their own. You could change it to something like that or anything that you want, especially with some issues that have come up. You can do it. Yes, David.
Under genuine representation, why is the student senate promoting the well-being of all members in the CCC system? Why isn't it just focused on students?
I don't know. That's a good point.
I think that should be changed. And not to say that we're advocating for not intentionally not pushing for the well-being of all students, but sometimes we have interests that conflict with other constituent members, and I don't think that there should be compromises there.
So yeah, these are the value statements. Yeah. These are the current ones actually. And these are the, but that's. For the value statements, we connected connection and gender representation, and then we added organizational ethics.
Around it.
Wait, was this sent to like us?
No,
Okay.
it wasn't even
'cause
brought up in the delegate assembly.
I can't really like read.
Okay, I'll send it to you. We actually have a survey going out, so you can just fill that out.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
gonna
you.
email that.
Because I think I might just need like more time to like. read
Yeah,
it,
I
so
understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then, so the last thing is that we changed the vision. The only thing we changed in it was we added the word all California community college students to reflect the language of the mission statement, because we wanted it to be, I'm forgetting the word, consistent. Any discussions? I'll just send out the survey. That'll probably be better for you guys. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention, despite our relationship with them, whatever it is, they're going to represent community college students across the state. So I think it's very important that we provide as much input as we can. And I know you all can tear this apart. And your opinions are very valued. Okay. If there's no more discussion, we will go back to the agenda.
Do you mind sending that
I
for the
will.
minutes?
Yeah. Moving on to discussion about future events.
Oh, yeah, so yeah, just for like, lobby fund budget, I kind of want to plan, just set aside some money for like a trip in case like something were to arise with our government just slowly collapsing over the infrastructure bill. So, yeah, so I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. So if something were to happen, I honestly would expect it to probably happen like towards the end of the year.
Oh, this year or the academic?
Like the academic year.
Okay.
Are you worried about torches and pitchforks? Are you worried
So
about?
we're building a
change of
bunker
policy?
facility.
I think maybe change of policy, like I think like there's just a bunch of different things going on, like I think you have the whole infrastructure madness, and I think you also have inflation, which the administration is not really prepared for. And so I think like they're prepared to leave certain things out of their bills, like I was reading that like quite some time ago that they were going to actually make some changes to the Pell Grant, but I think they're actually gonna remove that from their major legislation.
Yes, Marcus.
As you guys know, the spring semester is starting soon, meaning we have another welcome week coming up. And I do not want to repeat of what happened this fall semester, where it was only just me and like, I'm actually very serious about this, because while I do have committee members to help me with this, it's expected that everyone here participates and welcome me, because as Carrie and Dean Cobb continuously say, this is not just Christian's event or Eugene's event or Philly's event, it is our event. So if I do not see equal participation again this time, I will not hesitate to bring this up with Carrie and Dean Cobb, because this is not the first time or the second time this happened. That's all I have.
Thank you, Marcus. Any other discussion? Yes, Carrie.
I'm gonna then also put it out on you and anyone who's planning something to be prepared in advance to send out a dual or invite or something that gives people a chance to put this on their calendar and to sign up for a shift. Okay, so if you've got an event and you need help, it's also gonna be on you to notify your members and give them time. And also a lot of this is, you all should know your events, because I'm trying to hold the line at 2 weeks. Usually I try and get you to do 4 weeks in advance. But be kind and give your other folks an idea of when you're gonna be in meetings.
Yeah, like guys, like you guys can't get mad at us if you let us know when your event is like 1 week ahead of time. Like we all have stuff going on. So it's like if you give me like 2 weeks in advance, yes, I will be there. But if it's like the week of or like 1 week, like there's like a 50-50 chance.
Yes, David.
Does a resolution fall under future events?
I don't think so.
What about a future potential special meeting?
I
And
think
the
you would
attendance
say that in
contracts?
announcements.
Interesting.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Okay, no, we'll move on to item 7, appointment to college-wide committees. Do you have any appointments? No. Okay, moving on to item 8, appointment to AS committees. Do we have any appointments?
Actually, I've got some.
No, okay. Moving on to the bill acceptance. We have
Next
the-
week.
Next week, okay, thank you. Moving on to item 10, the approval of ICC funding. Only one club took advantage of the second funding request round, that was PCC Fishing. I did set a cap for this round, which was $350, and they did their math wrong. So they thought that they were under budget, but it turns out they were $7 over. Because they were the only club that requested it, I told the funding committee, and it was approved by the funding committee, that we will just let the $7 slide. I hope that's okay with all of you.
$7 over?
Uh-huh. That's almost more than
That's
3 law club asked
ridiculous.
for.
Yeah.
Resolution,
What?
no confidence.
I do like fishing, so
You should join them.
I think I'll give them a shot.
Yeah, so essentially the event that they're asking to be funded is a year-end camping trip where they'll go fishing. Wait, you guys emailed me. The only issue that we found is it was the weekend of Thanksgiving.
So they did their math
We
and their
need
calendar.
to, yeah, we need to check with their advisor to make sure that they will be there. Oh, that's the wrong.
No confidence.
I apologize. So anyways. We'll give you a moment.
Anyways.
Okay, anyways, is there any discussion about their request? Okay, none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the ICC funding request for Pcc Fishing Club,
Some,
not to exceed $357.
Some of,
Thank you, Jonathan, and second by Brianna. We'll go with a roll call vote, starting with Eugen. Jay.
Aye.
it speaks.
Brianna. Marcus. Jillian. Tilly.
Aye.
Jonathan.
Aye.
Christian.
Aye.
Natalia. And David.
Aye.
Hey, with 0 opposed, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. They will appreciate it. Moving on to public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any members of the public who would like to give a public comment at this time? Is there any on the YouTube?
The only thing on YouTube was a question about Stomp the Yard, and that's been answered. So
Hearing none, seeing none, we will move on to advisors' comments. Being is shaking her head
no,
no.
heard enough from me, so.
And Carrie has none.
No, you all heard it.
Okay. Moving on to announcements. David, do you have anything you would like to announce?
so hopefully by now you have all seen a resolution that was distributed this earlier today. And I know it's a lot to digest, it's a lot of information and a lot of specific information that you would need to have experience to really know the background. And so if you have any questions about anything specific on this resolution, please tell me. And if you're all available and willing to have a special meeting on Friday, it's completely up to all y'all. We can have that. The urgency behind this is the board of directors for SSCCC is meeting this Saturday to consider whether to remove their president and or remove their executive director based off of an investigation that was had that, by the way, is not very independent. Just bring this out there. This is sort of an extreme because if hypothetically this were to be approved, I would send this to the Board of Governors, to the Chancellor's Office, and to every Board of Directors member on SSCCC and CCLC. So just to let you know.
Yes, John.
I'm very much interested in this hypothetical potential special meeting on Friday.
Yes, Marcus.
Would this meeting be over Zoom or in person?
Whatever you all would prefer.
Potentially Zoom.
I would be over Zoom because I'll be out of town.
Can we do the meeting early in the morning? Because I have interviews, but I definitely want to go over this. I think it's very important. I also have a question,
Yep.
if you're allowed to respond. How does the SSCC get the funding from? Or where does
So-
where do they get it from?
There was a bill, AB 1504, that amended Ed Code to say that for a long time, we've had a $1 fee that paid for our student representation fee, which is what Jonathan's budget comes to. It was changed to add on another $1 that was actually optional now. That second $1 now goes to SSCCC. That's how they get their funding. Yeah. That's the question.
That's $7 not optional.
The second $1? Oh, no, I mean the entire fee in general is optional now for a student. They can opt out of that fee. But if they opt in, that second $1 will go to SSCCC.
So I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So, Marcus. and then we'll go to Carrie.
Are we gonna be the first ones to do this, like trendsetters?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
Okay, so this is
We've always
based
been
off of an
trendsetters.
investigation report that only came out yesterday morning or today. morning.
Would it be possible for us to get access to that?
Yeah, it's
It's
public
public
record now, yeah. I will send it to you guys.
Carrie?
So just want to also point out that Friday, you all have a movie night.
Yes.
So just make your plans accordingly. Because some of you here will probably not have time.
Come to movie night. It's gonna be fabulous.
So how early would you all be willing to meet?
7 a.m.
Oh.
Before I
Before
have,
11.
Before 11?
I have interviews from 10:30 to 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let Emmanuel know. We'll aim for 7 or 8.
Hear me out.
He's like, what
7
about have
over
Supreme Council
Zoom.
again?
Over Zoom. We'll make it quick.
This is
We
not
should-
gonna be a quick thing.
We can
We're gonna have
read
to
it.
discuss
Well,
it, yeah.
Hopefully, if you all send me your questions and I answer that from now between tomorrow night,
You can't do that because that's a violation of the.
individual.
Yep.
Really?
You can't answer them. They can send you
Okay.
questions, but for discussion at the
But-
public.
And then
I'm a
meeting.
non-voting member.
It doesn't matter. You're part of, they are not.
Yeah.
They're still an elected
What am
official.
I voting?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can, they can send them to you. You cannot respond to them.
But I'm also gonna say, you all don't have a really good track record of working like that. So
Mhm.
And
if y'all
what do
serious,
you-
be serious.
Okay. Well, then I would like to welcome Trustee Ramirez. Sorry. I would like to welcome Trustee Ramirez to just give a brief rundown of what's actually happening right now.
Okay.
So
So-
that they can know and process it.
I will go by every whereas one by one and sort of give a little bit of context behind it. So we're the first whereas, so there was a complaint made by a student, not a current SSCCC student, it's an outside student, who's already transferred. That was made, there was a complaint made to the transfer's office, the statewide transfer's office, reporting that they believe that the president and the executive director were abusing their own power and creating a hostile work environment for other students. And so the chancellor's office began their own investigation and basically forced us to look into this. So that's where that came from. The second whereas is the testimony of student experiences. So a lot of students were interviewed by both the chancellor's office and the independent investigator that was hired by SSCCC. And the report will show you that they reported experiences of this abuse of power and an overreach of their roles. For example, the vice president of legislative affairs, her name is Jasmine Prasad, said that she's responsible for advocacy. She's basically their Jonathan, but statewide. One example is she was offered an opportunity to speak to a committee in the legislature to speak on students' behalfs. She was specifically requested by a staffer in the legislature to have her come. But Executive Director Julie Adams said, no, you're not going. Our president is going instead because we believe that he'll give a better experience because he's Hispanic. Jasmine Prasad is also Hispanic. So, yeah. Whereas the third whereas, SSCCC is spending approximately $15,000 on legal fees to a law firm that Julie Adams has contracted for over 20 years in her tenure in the academic senate. During an open meeting, they said that there's absolutely no conflict of interest between these two individuals. I am willing to bet that that is not true. If they have ever had conversations that are not professional, not specifically related to business, then that is no longer a professional relationship. So I'm just putting that out there. Also, $15,000 is a lot of student money. The fourth whereas, again, the conflict of interest, these two individuals have been working together for over 20 years. And to charge the attorney to investigate Julie Adams on allegations made against her on the SSCCC's behalf, it doesn't sit well with me. The fifth whereas, operations were not transparent to students they serve. I think I can speak to this. So I was a board member of SSCCC last year. We entered into a closed session, and I can talk about this because this information was released as a result of this investigation. Usually, you're not allowed to talk about what you talk about in closed session. But we were considering the contract renewal for Executive Director Adams. I never received this contract before I even considered it. We only got to see it at the actual meeting, and so that was not very transparent to us. Imagine we have someone that we pay $160,000 to hire, and you're considering their contract, you never received the contract beforehand. So and then they were all, our president at the time was rushing us to approve this contract. And coincidentally, the same individual was hired on to SSCCC as staff with a $60,000 to $70,000 salary. So if that seems like something that it's doesn't seem right, it's probably because it isn't right. Whereas a result of a lack of transparency within SSCCC, student body associations have been unwilling to involve themselves. Right now, at the moment, Region 6, which is Oxnard and the area around Oxnard, none of those colleges are active in SSCCC. They've intentionally not been. Sorry.
Just adding on that, a lot of people in our region don't even show up to delegate meetings because it's also like that. And I did not show up to the last meeting because also part of this whole transparency thing, they did not give me proper notice, the meeting date and time, and it didn't work with my schedule. And either way, I think if they had let us know that soon to the meeting, it's pretty messed up. And I didn't even get the actual meeting link. Natalie had to send it to me. That's not her job to send me that link. And so basically they're obviously not being transparent. And you know, it's like I'm supposed to be at those meetings as a delegate, even though I wasn't there. So just letting you guys know that.
Yeah, so this is an example of a region that they have not tried to get them active. And last year, if I had not made the effort to reach out to them, our region wouldn't have been active either. Because we were inactive when I started as student trustee, we were completely inactive. I reached out to them. I said, hey, can I work with you guys to set up a delegate assembly so we can get people elected? If I hadn't done that, we would have been inactive, and we're the biggest region, potentially getting them about $400,000 every semester, based from our SRF fees. So again, a huge misuse of funds and not getting adequate representation of students on their board. And I don't think that we should be sending them money if they're not even getting us representation. So, and complete misuse of funds, their student representation fee funds that they're collecting. Right now, their budget is operating at a $20,000 deficit. This is mostly because they threw an in-person event that they had not adequately planned for. They did not get enough attendance, and so they did not make enough money. They spent too much money, and they're also spending too much money on legal fees. So I don't personally think that their funds are being spent wisely. So what I'm asking for specifically is that we affirmly vote of no confidence in SSCCC, and that we also request that the Board of Governors reconsiders its MOU with the Student Senate, hopefully to get out of their MOU, and also for the Board of Governors to reconsider their Title V recognition. In Title V education, Code of Regulations, Title V, which is for education, they specifically recognize the Student Senate as the statewide student body association. I want them to reconsider that. And then lastly, I want the Chancellor's Office to try to facilitate the creation of a new organization completely separate from this current one. So yeah, that's all the information. I don't think we had allowed to have extended discussion about this, but again, if you have any questions about anything specific, I know it's a lot of information I just threw at you all. Please don't hesitate to ask. The reason why I think this is so important is because we're doing everything they're doing, but better. And I don't think that we should be sending them money. I don't think we should be sending them support if they're not willing to include us, if they're not willing to be transparent to students everywhere. So. No.
Yes, Natalia.
I have just two questions. Do you have any other community colleges that also are supporting this, or they are creating something similar and they're trying to send to the Board of Trustees as well?
Yeah, the student trustee at the Grossmont Mecca district is also doing the same thing.
So
Me and him are coordinating.
okay, so there's like two members, okay.
Yeah.
And then, do you know any other people who are doing the opposite of what you're doing, that they're trying to, any universities that are supporting this,
I think
these
you guys,
organizations?
I think you guys saw it when the SHCC president, their staff and our RAD came to our meeting unannounced. And just sat in our meeting thinking that they would get recognized by us and to speak to us without setting up an appointment with us. But they are trying to go around to gather support. Clearly not the right way, but
Okay, any other announcements?
Come to the Lorax movie night on Friday. It's gonna be amazing. There's gonna be a lot of food, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I already ordered it.
Billy?
Yeah, also, right after this is a photo shoot. That's all.
yes.
Yes, so.
Great.
Ready.
Any other announcements? No? Okay, moving on to future meeting dates and times, we will reconvene, well, I guess on Friday for a special meeting at a time to be determined, but our regular meeting will be held on November 17th in our 11:30 on this campus, and the agenda items are due by tomorrow at 5 p.m. Okay, moving on to adjournment, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn today's meeting at 1:40 p.m. Do I have a first?
Second.
So moved by David, seconded by you, Jay.
Steven's like, I'm not gonna get first.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Seeing and hearing none, our meeting is adjourned at 1:40 p.m.
Oh my God.
So basically,
Wait.
so they're built before today.
When
obviously
when did
we're-
the CC, what is it,
So-
SCCC guys come?
I think it was like 3 years ago.
Was it the one that I came first? Like the first meeting that I've been?
I'm thinking about breaking them into.
It's just like three big dudes coming in and then just left, right? That was them?
That was their president, with their staff. And then-
That was bad.
Bye, Jay. Bye, Jay.
Bye, have fun.
Bye, Jay.
It's just about- so I'm gonna have like a sample, like,
You can adjust it.
All right. Stop the live.
Yeah, I have to wait, okay.